Our hypothesis was firstly to set the fill as the base exposure, then we will set the other light sources around the fill, such as key, background, edge, and backlight. This is originally our planned lighting setup for the cinematography test shoot. The style in which we were going for was high key, and we wanted the light to reach a T-stop of 5.6. We were then to have all the lights on for the first take, and for the second take, the background light off first, then the third take, the fill light, then the fourth, take the edge light, then the key will switch off, which leaves us with the backlight. For take 5 and 6, we'd have the backlight and the background light on. So for the original lighting setup on set, we had 5 lights that we were going to plan to use. However, we only ended up using 3 in the end, as we thought it would speed up our process during the test shoot and help us obtain a more defined image. As DOP, my role was to take charge of the crew and direct them around during the camera test shoot. Our idea was to recreate a scene from Chinatown 1974, and using shadows and process of elimination, we were to see what effects a key light, a fill light, a hard light had on our subject. Taking away those lights, how would that affect our process? We chose for the first scenes which we shot to be in black and white film, as we believed that would be an interesting development when capturing the footage. The question was, how would different types of film affect our scene and subject in terms of lighting and colour, and what impact that had overall on the scene? So for the first scene, we had a close-up of James, who was our subject, and we had him in position so that the framing of the shot was as accurate as possible to the representation of that still that we chose from Chinatown. The first test was to turn the lights on and then turn them off one by one. We then moved on to turning different lights on in a numerous order to see how that would affect the subject. I also had the subject change the direction of his face to see how that would be representative of the scene. Then, having moved on to colour film, we found that we wanted to experiment with our subject's background, so we chose a different shot from the same film, Chinatown 1974. When using colour film, the difference it made was very noticeable. The subject's shadows were not as dense or defined as when we used black and white film, and changing the shot to a more wide-angle shot had a significant impact indefinitely on how the shadows changed the shot. It wasn't as accurate as a representation or in the second still, I thought, from Chinatown, in my opinion.
For this assignment, my role was the first AC. This required me to take recordings of each take to measure how much film we had used per the take. I would record it using a camera report. During the pre-production, I did the statement, which was to let people know our intention and goal for this assignment. Our goal was to recreate a still from a film, in this case Roman Polanski's Chinatown, and turn off the light sources around in order to create a new mood and aesthetic for the scene. I was also tasked to do the lighting set diagram, which meant I was in charge of creating the floor plans and making sure where our subject, camera and lights would all be in order to recreate the still. I believe the production went well, as I successfully recorded all the takes and how much film we used. I also was in charge of loading the magazine, which I found fairly easy to do when loading. However, when unloading, it became a little difficult as the film was very fiddly to get a hold of and delicate. Luckily, the film came out great and nothing had gone wrong in the developmental stages due to any scratching of the film when taking it out. The production went very smoothly as we had props and we had a good idea as to where we wanted the lights to go and be set up.
As the swing for this camera test, my job was to assist with the production where needed. Firstly, I helped set up the key, background fill and fill lighting. At first we had these lights set up how we planned. However, they did not meet the standard of lighting to match the reference photo we were trying to recreate with the test shoot. We moved the lighting around and finally reached a starting point for the test shoot. And after setting up the lighting again, I made sure that the key, fill and background fill were in the correct places for an effective test shoot. This meant making sure shadows would come from the correct directions, matching the shadows on the face of the subject in the reference photo. I then volunteered to be the subject for the test, standing in front of the camera as we began.
Personally, I think he did a very good job with the positioning of the lights, and I think that was mainly due to the pre-production. The lighting and set diagram was helpful. We did stray from it a little bit when we were on set. I helped out with the unique lighting plan with our gaffer during pre-production, and during production I helped him and Best Electric with setting up the lights, and I mainly focused on the background fill on set.
As the gaffer of the group, I worked closely with the DOP in order to create the wanted look for the scene we were trying to recreate. My task was to position the lights properly for the scene and experiment with using different lights in different angles to see how the scene would look best and also the closest to the shot we were trying to recreate. I had people helping me with setting up and moving the lights, and we all contributed to switching on and off the different lights in order to save time while shooting.
Hi, my name's Lucas. I was the electric on set. My responsibilities on set was adjusting the key light in whatever way I was told to by the DOP. I also, out of these, recorded the exposure logs as I had access to the template on my phone. On set, we ended up using for the second picture, the coloured video, the extra key lights, which were the 750 watt profile spotlight on soft focus and on full power, and we also used 1 kilowatt Fresnel soft focus full power for the key light too, to really get the exposure out. And also we added 2K lights, 2K key lights on top of those ones that were located on the ceiling, creating the spotlight of the key. The hat brim was an issue as we couldn't replicate the shadow using the barn doors on the key light specifically to create a shadow ourselves, so we ended up having to use natural shadow that was created from the brim of the hat. Overall, our exposure logs were very consistent, and we had good contrast levels throughout.